Oyez, oyez, oyez. Silence is commanded by this honorable commission. All those having business, draw near.
Thank you, and at this time, you may be seated. I ask at this time that you be seated as we prepare to go through our agenda for today. We're going to have our inspiration and invocation, and then following that, Commissioner Stone will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Today we have one of our own, one of ones I like to call my children. She is one of those many children that I have, because I taught them over the 33 years that I was teaching in the public school system, and being a student of mine, they will forever be my child, my children. All right, yeah, my children. All right, if you want to. But we have Elder Johnson, who is a native of Savannah and the daughter of Betty Cole and the late Richard Cole. She is a graduate of Alfred E. Beach High School and earned the Bachelor in Business Administration and the Master of Business Administration degree from Savannah State College and University of, which is Savannah State College, and then now University, and the University of Phoenix, respectively. She is a devoted wife and a mother of 2 children. Elder Johnson has proudly served the employees and the family members of Chatham County government for 21 years as the Employee Benefit Administrator in the Human Resources Department. Everybody want to know her. But most of all, she is a lover of God, His Word, and the people of God. So at this time, let me call on Elder Johnson as she come to bring us our inspiration and our invocation.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me set up my little prop real quick.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. Chairman Ellis, Commissioners, and Mr. Smith, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to give the devotional message and the invocation this morning. This morning, we're going to talk briefly about lightening our load. As women, I brought it with me. As women, we carry purses that sometimes have so much stuff in them that people often ask us, why do you carry that heavy thing? And isn't it too heavy? You're going to hurt your back. So, well, let's talk about the spiritual this morning. Hebrews 12 and 1, tells us to lay aside every weight and run with endurance the race that is set before us. We've been called to run a race. A race is hard enough when we're running light, but it is even harder when we're lugging around extra stuff. Runners lay aside everything except what is absolutely necessary. Runners run the race regardless of the conditions, whether it's hot, cold, windy, rainy, they still run the race. It doesn't matter. They have their eyes on the prize, so they're determined to strip off the weight that might keep them from being the best athlete they could possibly be. That is what we need to do as well. What are we lugging around that's hindering us from being all that we should be, from being at our full capacity? Let's look in our spiritual purses, and men, look in your spiritual wallets this morning and see what that might be that has your weighed down that you need to lighten your load. All right, we're going to look in my purse this morning. Is it guilt? Lighten the load. Is it what other people think? Lighten the load. Is it low self-esteem? Lighten your load. Is it unforgiveness? Lighten your load. Is it because you've had some failures in your past that's keeping you from lightening your load? Drop it and lighten your load. Is it fear? Lighten your load this morning. And is it anger? Lighten your load this morning. I know some people say, well, I have none of those things that's weighing me down. Okay, well, I brought some empty rocks. Make your choice. Whatever yours is, lighten your load. Look how much lighter the purse is now. Look how much easier it is to carry. Now that we've shifted our weights to our God box. God now has the weights. We don't have to carry them. We can be what he wants us to be once we lighten our load. We have now cast our cares on the Lord because that's what he tells us we must do. We have now lightened the load to run the race that's set before us. Your race is not mine. My race is not yours. We each have our own individual race. But every race is one day at a time, step by step, without quitting, no turning back, enduring to the finish. How much easier it is now to run that race, now that we have become empty vessels, now that we're ready to be used by God, now that we've rid ourselves of weights and distractions, regained our focus and set our sights on winning the race. In my conclusion, now that we've lightened the load, what do they say when you get ready to run your race? On the mark, get set, let's go. Let us pray.
May we stand?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for everyone gathered here today. Thank you for helping us to lighten our load and run the race you've set before us. Now, Lord, fill this meeting with your presence. As our commissioners meet today to conduct matters of business, guide their hearts, their minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your wisdom upon this meeting so that every discussion may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Thank you for your many blessings upon us, our city, our county, and our nation. We give all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise to you, because you and you alone are worthy. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Let us say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. And to Elder Johnson, as you were carrying us through your props, I was singing it within myself. There's a song that goes along with what you say. Say, heavy load. I got rid of my heavy load. So I was getting rid of my heavy load for the day. All right? Thank you so much for those words of inspiration. Let us now go on to roll call.
Chester A. Ellis, Chairman.
Present.
Kenneth A. Adams, District 8, Vice Chairman. Helen L. Stone, District 1, Chairman Pro Tem.
Present.
Larry Gator Rivers, District 2. Bobby Lockett, District 3.
Here.
Patrick K. Farrell, District 4.
Here.
Tanya Milton, District 5. Aaron Whiteley, District 6.
Here.
Dean Kicklighter, District 7.
Here. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And let me ask at this time now to please turn off your cell phones so that they do not go off during these proceedings.
Don't judge me.
All right, let us now go on to our proclamations and special presentations. All right. And the first is the proclamation declaring the week of May 15th through 21st as Police Week in Chatham County. Chief Hadley is here. Chief, I'm going to read a portion of this proclamation, and then I'll turn it over to you for remarks. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have declared May 15th through 21, 2022 as National Police Week to recognize and to honor the service and sacrifice of those police officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. And whereas the men and women of the Chatham County Police Department play a central role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of our community by providing unceasing vital police public service. And whereas every day our law enforcement officers place their lives in jeopardy to protect the lives and property of Chatham County citizens. And whereas all citizens should express respect and appreciation to all officers now serving, especially express our respect and appreciation to the families of those officers who have fallen in the battle against crime and to whom we owe an indefinite gratitude. Now, therefore, I, Chester A. Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st, 2022 as Police Week in Chatham County and urge all citizens to observe this time with appropriate celebrations commemorating police officers past and present for their faithful and loyal devotion to preserving the rights and security of all citizens. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of Chatham County, Georgia to be affixed this 13th day of May 2022. Chief, is in your hands.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it, and Commission, County Management, and first and foremost, let me thank the officers of the Chatham County Police Department, and on behalf of the sheriff who's going to a college graduation today, I'd like to recognize the Chatham County Sheriff's Office and all their fine employees, and really just appreciate the relationship that we have with the board, county management, and really all the departments that help us be successful, from human resources to project management to strategic planning to buildings and maintenance and all the other functions of county government that play a role in what we do and how we deliver our services on any given day. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and thank you for recognizing the officers that put on the uniform every day and go out there and do a very difficult job under very difficult circumstances. So thank you very much. I hope you all have a blessed weekend and are safe. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank all your members of your department for the service that they render.
Thank you.
The job they do, well done.
Thank you, sir.
This time, we will have a proclamation of the week of May 15th to 21st, 2022 as Emergency Medical Service Week. And Chief Kearns is here to accept.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
All right.
Good morning, sir. And the proclamation reads, whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and the dedicated EMTs and paramedics of Chatham Emergency Services have been providing exemplary emergency medical care and ambulance transportation to the citizens of Chatham County. And whereas Chatham Emergency Services are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency and care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of emergency medical responders, technicians, paramedics, firefighters, emergency physicians, emergency nurses, educators, administrators, and others. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore, Chester A. Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st, 2022, with the theme Rising to the Challenge as 48th Annual Emergency Medical Services EMS Week in Chatham County, and encourage all Chatham County residents to recognize the practitioners and observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Chatham County, Georgia, to be affixed the 13th day of May, 2022.
Thank you,
Chief
Commissioner.
Kearns?
Well, it's special getting this proclamation, especially from you, knowing that you have a first responder in your family, and there's another first responder or former first responder on this commission, so we know you have a lot of knowledge about what we do. You know, we have 400 personnel, and they've recently been dealing with the pandemic, wall times where we can't offload our patients, turn them over to the hospitals, and get back in service. In fact, I just got a page that 2 of the hospitals are on diversion right now. So we're limited in bringing patients to them right now as I speak. And it ties up our resources. Now, District Chief Mary Meeks here, I'm not as eloquent a speaker as Chief Hadley, so I had to bring help. But I can tell you that District Chief Mary Meeks here is one of our most seasoned medics, and she has had her life threatened numerous times on scenes. And her partner, Jessica Autumn Martin, are here. And if you guys would like to say something to the commission.
My name's Mary Meeks, and this is my partner, Jessica. It's our distinct pleasure to be recognized today by you all and taking time set aside to recognize the hard work we do in Chatham County. Not a day goes by that we don't touch the lives of our citizens and our community, and it's truly a blessing each day to come to work, put on this uniform, and as best we can, no matter what the circumstances are. So truly and sincerely, thank y'all for taking the time to recognize us and have our proclamation.
You're welcome, and thank you all for such a great job you do, and we continue to pray and bless with you, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, now we will have the proclamation recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness in Chatham County, and Ms. Roberts is here from Coastal Georgia Indicators, and Ms. Anderson from Gateway, and Commissioner Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank all of Chatham County for their leadership in this area. I think that it is no secret that we are being noted nationally for this. We had the representatives from the National Association of Counties here last week touring our Behavioral Crisis Center. And I will tell you, I thought it was very interesting on a Thursday afternoon for people that have never been to Savannah, not to be out walking on River Street, but even despite some transportation challenges, they all came to the Behavioral Crisis Center for the tour. So it is really gives me a great deal of pride that our county here in Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia, has taken such a leadership role in such a national problem. So I will read this proclamation. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, as everyone experiences times of stress and struggles in their lives. And whereas 1 in 4 adults and 1 in 5 youths ages 13 to 18 experience serious mental illness. And whereas statistics show that the effects of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, are felt by people regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or social economic status. And 60% of adults and 50% of youths do not receive the necessary treatment for their mental health needs due to limited or no knowledge of the need, barriers to care, or fear and shame. And whereas research recognizes that ACEs, which include but are not limited to physical, emotional, sexual abuse, physical and emotional neglect, household dysfunction, untreated mental illness or incarceration of a household member, domestic violence and separation or divorce involving household members, are traumatic experiences that have a profound effect on a child's developing brain and body and can result in poor physical and mental health during childhood and adulthood. And whereas promoting mental health and wellness leads to higher overall productivity, better educational outcomes, lower crime rates, stronger economics, lower health care costs, improved family life, improved quality of life, and increased lifespan. And now, therefore, I, Helen Stone, on the behalf of our chairman, Chester Ellis, and the County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 22nd as Mental Health Awareness and Trauma-Informed Care Month in Chatham County, and encourage all other government agencies, public and private institutions, business, schools, nonprofit agencies across the state to commit in increasing awareness and understanding of mental health. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Chatham County, Georgia to be affixed this 13th day of May 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Robertson, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, I'll go first. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for your support, Commissioner Stone, and all you all for your support with Chatham County's mental health awareness and services just throughout our whole city and our whole county. I represent Gateway Community Service Board, and I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Ms. Lizanne Roberts with CGIC. And just a few quick updates because, again, you all have been huge supporters of Gateway Community Service Boards. And I want you all to know we're doing the right thing, right? Keep you all informed. But Gateway, we continue to provide those mental health supports and services to our children and families and to the adults in our communities. And we all know that trauma is a risk factor that can increase the chances of mental health. And so it's extremely important that we all work together to bring the awareness of trauma and how we can lower that to lower the risk of mental health. We have our first 6 psychiatrists who will be graduating, who came here to work in Chatham County, who will be graduating within the next 14 months. We are still providing amazing services as you were able to come and tour the BHCC, and we are still doing that in the midst of a workforce shortage with nurses and some of our health techs, so we've still been able to do that. And our coordination of care between the BHCC and the Savannah Police Department, as well as EMS, is also going very smoothly. So again, thank you all for your support. And we have some more things in regards to our trauma work, but I'm gonna let Lizanne talk. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners, and we so appreciate your support in this work. It is because of your support over the years that we are being recognized nationally for the work that we're doing. 2 years ago, we partnered with a group called Resilient Georgia, who's working to build trauma-informed practices across our state and prevent ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. We've received, up to this date, we've received $400,000 through grants partnering with Resilient Georgia to improve trauma-informed policies, systems, and programs within our community. So I want to tell you just a little bit about what we're up to, because this is very important as we go forward. A grim statistic in our nation is that as of March of this year, over 200,000 children have lost a parent or caregiver in our nation. That's going to impact our children locally, as many of them have lost caregivers and parents. Grief is part of mental health, and we can't do anything about the death, but what we can do is we can ensure that the people who are working with children, both therapists and everyday people, coaches, recreation centers, schools, faith-based organizations, are trained in being trauma-informed. And that's what we intend to do. We have 5 working groups right now through a project we're calling Resilient Coastal Georgia. They are school-based, they are out-of-school networks, which are faith-based organizations. We have a minister who's leading that effort. First responders and courts. So we have 2 people who are working on that. We're having a regional approach to that. Our funder asked us to do that, so we're working with counties all the way through, down all the way to the Florida line on that project. And then the 5th group is making sure that we have a system that takes care of people, that doesn't have gaps. And so those are the 5 working groups that we have, and they're meeting every month to make sure that we're getting the training out that we need to become a trauma-informed county. So we need your continued support to open doors for us on this. We want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence on the grant, but before that, let me just tell you, every time we meet with them, they say to us, the spirit of collaboration in Chatham always astounds us. Because of this, we've been able to put together, with the help of CCPD, SPD, Garden City, and Port Wentworth, we have a new system called Handle with Care. So when an officer is responding to a scene and a child is there, there's a notification that goes to the school system that says the child's name, their age, and the words "Handle with Care." And because of that, we now are being able to get children the help that they need early, before their behavior escalates, and they may get expelled because of that. And what we want to do is help children instead of hurt them, right? So those are the kinds of things that we're up to, and we appreciate the work that you all do every day to support our efforts in the community, and we especially want to thank you for the proclamation.
Thank you so much for the work that you do, and thank you for being in this crucial time, because mental health is on the top of the agenda, and it leads to a whole lot of things. And let me just say, as we recognize you with that, we also want to recognize that Commissioner Stone has been our champion, for she has worked on the national level, the state level, and the local level to make sure that we keep this to the forefront. And so we will continue to be that partner. And say, as I say, when I go to the Coastal Region Commission meeting, in Chatham is one Chatham, and that's all. All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right, now let us go to the proclamation recognizing May as Historic Preservation Month in Chatham County. The Executive Director of the Metropolitan Planning Commission is here to accept the award. And we go to Commissioner Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, since the early 1700s, Savannah-Chatham County has provided a backdrop for historic preservation. So I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas the National Trust for Historic Preservation established May as Historic Preservation Month in 1973 as a way to promote historic places for the purpose of instilling nation and community pride, promoting heritage tourism, and showing the social and economic benefits of historic preservation. And whereas Historic Preservation Month can instill awareness of the local historically significant buildings and landmarks to the residents of Chatham County and surrounding county communities. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people. And whereas the Chatham County community continues to demonstrate their commitment to preservation as the county grows and develops through ongoing historic resource surveys, the nomination of historic resources of the National Register of Historic Places, the protection of its traditional neighborhoods, and the recognition, rehabilitation, and restoration of historic properties. Now, therefore, I, Chester A. Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Historic Preservation Month in Chatham County and celebrate this year's Preservation Month theme of People Saving Places, and call upon the citizens of Chatham County to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Chatham County, Georgia, to be affixed this 13th day of May 2022. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilson.
Yes, I want to make sure that I thank you for relaunching the Chatham County Historic Preservation Commission. There are a lot of natural resources as well as cultural resources that need to be preserved within unincorporated Chatham County. Historic tourism, is increasing, and a number of people still contact us with regards to some of those assets. So on behalf of the NPC, on behalf of our staff who are committed to making sure that this program works, I want to thank you again for recognizing Historic Preservation Month, as well as relaunching the Historic Preservation Program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let me recognize now our constitutional officer. I see the tax commissioner is in the audience with us. Ms. Jackson is here. The sheriff was here. I guess he must have left. Okay. Okay, I don't see anyone else. I'll make sure I don't miss any of them. And also at this time, let me introduce to all of you my shadow for the day. Today in Chatham County, there are 12 municipalities who have joined forces, spearheaded by Georgia Power, as we empower our youth. And the day is executive for a day. And we have with us a student from the Woodsville-Tompkins Wolverine Nation. Y'all know why I'm saying that. All right, Ms. Janaya Castle is with us today, and I want to make sure that when you go back to show your principal and show your students, Miss, we have those gifts that we have set aside for her.
That's a major swag.
That's all right. She going back with a heavy load. First of all, it's a gift from Georgia Power and for your being involved in executive program, all right? And then the second bag is from all of the departments and all of us here at Chatham County. We are so glad that you're here today, all right, to see how government works, okay? And we hope that you don't get afraid and run away from it, but you get involved to make a difference. And so it's my pleasure to have you, Janaya, be with me today and to shadow me as we go through these proceedings, and then for the rest of the day that you'll see me do, all right? And we just hope that it'll be a rewarding experience for you. So we're so glad to have you. We don't have any chairman's items, we don't have any commissioner items, so there, we don't have any table items. So now we'll go to items for individual action. Board votes on the following appointment. Appoint Albert Quillen to the Economic Authority, Opportunity Authority. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Properly motion is second that Mr. Quillen be appointed. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. Appointment. August Rushing to the Economic Opportunity Authority. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly motion is second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. We didn't clear it, I don't think, Jen. All right, there you go. Okay. All right, appointment, Henry Perry to the Economic Opportunity Authority. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Properly motion is second that Mr. Perry be appointed. Ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. Reappointment of Dr. Deloach to the Department of Family and Children Services Board. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Properly motion is second that Dr. Deloach be reappointed. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Thank you, ma'am. All right, let me go back to one I missed. Reappoint Dr. Fields to the Department of Family and Children Services, or is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second that Dr. Fields be reappointed. Cast your votes. Third, okay. Now I'm back. Appoint Lieutenant Keith Edwards to the Department of Family and Children Services Board. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Properly motion and second that Mr. Lieutenant Edwards be appointed. Ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. Appoint George Woods to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. To request approval of the following budget amendments and transfers. In the multiple grant fund, increase revenues and expenditures, $125,000 for the Acme Better Health for Hope Court Grant. 2, in the general fund, transfer $94,522 from confiscate to the detention center operating budget. B, increase revenues, $458,682 transfer in from Hurricane Matthews. C, transfer $40,000 from Henderson Golf Course salary to professional service account. D, transfer $50,000 from the Aquatic Center temporary employees to professional service account. 3, in Hurricane Matthews, transfer $458,682 to the general fund and close out funds 255. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Properly motion and second that the approval be granted. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. Okay. Request board approval to provide a $1,000 one-time lump sum public safety supplement to Chatham County Public Service safety officers and first responders. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second that the request be granted. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your vote. Okay. To present the fiscal year 2021-2022 third quarter financial report dated March 31st, 2022 to the board for information, and we call on Mr. Manager.
Yes, I'd ask Miss Amy Davis, our finance officer, to come up and give this report. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This is our third quarter financial report as of March 31st, 2022. And we'll start with the revenues and expenditures for the general fund. General fund had $140.4 million in revenues and $143.2 million in expenditures. That's slightly over where we were at this point last year. However, we have a paper loss of $10 million for investments. It's not cash, it's just a book entry that we have to make every quarter. That's right. So we would be about $11 million ahead of last year. So I just wanted to make that up. Special Service District, we had $35.2 million in revenues and $33.6 in expenditures. And then we break those down into our taxes of $135.5, license and fees of $300,000, intergovernmental revenues of $1.5 million, charges for services $10.8, fines and forfeitures $2.4, and there's that huge $10.9 million loss there for a total of $140. And on special services, $30.8 in taxes, and you can read the rest, I think. SPLOST, we have collected $25.8 million this year to date, $134.6 since inception of this particular SPLOST. In our LOST, we had $6 million collected, and year to date, $15.6. And then here's just a summary of our investments. We had $403.9 million in investments, and it breaks it down there. If you want more information on the holdings or the investments, there is an attachment to your agenda item that you can open up, and I leave it at that.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Davis now? Any commissioner? Okay. Question? Okay. All good?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now let us move on now to the transmittal. of the fiscal year 2022-2023 recommended budget from the county manager. Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's our honor again this year to submit to you a balanced budget. And I will say no millage increases are recommended.
How about a decrease?
Huh? No increase.
No, quite.
No. We are giving this out a couple, 3 weeks in advance of what we usually do for you guys to review. We'll be doing small meetings with you a couple weeks in advance. So over the next few days, if you would go through it, take a look. If you have any questions, give me a call. We'll do the small meetings, and then we will have our larger meetings. We'll be having meetings with some departments or constitutional elected officers have requested some meetings, and look forward to those workshops, Mr. Chairman, and you should have a copy of the schedules.
Okay. With your schedule, please look and see if the schedule meets your appointment time. All right, and if it doesn't, call the manager and make adjustments, okay?
Yes.
So that we can go through, that you can go through the budget that you have, all right? Today, all we're doing is transmitting the budget, okay? All right, let's move on to the action calendar. No one asked that anything be pulled out or separated. So may I have a motion to accept the action calendar in its entirety?
So moved, sir.
Second.
Properly motion and second that we accept the action calendar in its entirety. Ready for the question? Please signify by voting. All right. Thank you. All right, we move on now to the next item on the agenda, which is a first reader. It just be read into the records. Adopt amendment to Chapter 24, Article 1, Article 2, and Article 7, and Article 8 of the Chatham County Code to add Section 24-114-.1, Sections 24-206.1, Section 24-706.1, and Section 24-805-1 to provide authority to the county engineers to issue notice, summons to court, and citations for violation. It is read into the record. All right. We're getting ready now to go to our second reader. First, second reader, request board approval to repeal the Fire Protection Service Tax Ordinance and replace it with the Fire Protection Service Fee Ordinance. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Properly motion and second that the fire fee take place of the fire tax. Are you ready for the question?
Mr. Chairman,
All right.
discussion?
Yes.
I just have a quick question. A couple of concerns from the pre-meeting very quickly. One is the $100 land fee. I did receive some concerns from constituents who live in subdivisions with very small lots, and they would like to know if that $100 is straight across the board. In other words, if someone lives on an acre or more, are they gonna pay the same $100 that a person in a subdivision that's on a very small lot?
Based on the agreed upon and consensus of the board, the table does do 100 across the board.
Okay, well, I have a little concern about that. I mean, I just, I know this has been a very arduous task to come up with a process of trying to figure out a fair way to arrive at this fee. I'm a little concerned that, we're having to pick up the ball. We're between a rock and a hard place where Chatham Fire and EMS left us. So that was one concern I had. The other concern is that we're not really identifying all the structures that are going to be assessed. Like I brought up this morning about docks, that has never been discussed. And so that could include decks, open areas. How are we going to calculate that in square footage? So Just, those are some questions and concerns that I do have. I still would like to see possibly a proposal for smaller lots versus larger lots. But I realize that what we're voting on today is simply whether to turn this into a fee rather than a tax. So I just wanted to get my concerns on record, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate it.
All right. Commissioner Kicklighter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too, like I would assume many of the rest of you up here, have many concerns when we have to enact something like this. But unfortunately, sometimes in life and politics, things pop up that absolutely sucks. And this is one of those times. It's easy to blame Southside Fire Department, but fact remains, there's a large portion of people living in our county that chooses to let other people pay for their fire protection services. So what does that do? That makes someone like me who believes in less government, I want the government to stay the hell out of my life. And I want it to stay out of yours too when possible. But when you actually elect someone, is it my job to keep you from burning down? Yeah, I think that's the number one job of government, is to protect you. And because some of the people out there, some of you, television land, some of you have been pawning off your responsibilities to your neighbors. And because of that, we had two choices. We had a few choices. One choice not being let you burn up and die. That's not a choice. So we either had to raise your millage rate, or we had to put some type of fee on, because we had to save Southside Fire Department from going under. Because had that happened, at that point, your house would catch on fire, too bad, too sad, it's gone. So we had to come up with something. All right, you hear, I hear, we all hear the argument, and I get it. I thought this when I was elected 22 years ago. Why in the world is the fire department not covered in the taxes? Why is it not already in there? That's just stupid not to blah, blah, blah. I agree. But it hadn't been for years and years and years. We all inherited that, just like you that was born or moved here. That's what we had, what we have up until right this second. So fact remains, we have to save it. But if you wanted it to be in your taxes, I've got just a few little comparisons. I think my math, which I scribbled down since the beginning of the meeting, is hopefully fairly accurate, but if there's an auditor out there writing for the media, don't quote don't take it for exact, but it should be somewhere roundabout. All right, in the Special Service District of Chatham County, and let's get this clear, that's all we're talking about, not any city in Chatham County, every place that's not in one of our cities in Chatham County. The millage rate is 4.801. Why don't we have our fire covered like we do in Savannah? Well, fine. They pay 12.739 mils versus 4.801 mils. What does that mean? Well, that means that if you take that value, you'll see the millage difference is 7.938 mils more they pay to live in Savannah, which is basically close to double what you pay living in the unincorporated areas. All right, to break that down a little bit further for you, the millage value on a $100,000 property, if you live in the unincorporated area, the way we would value it, it comes out to about $40 per mil. So if you take that and you put it on $100,000 value, that's $192 when you multiply it times the 4.08 for SSD, Special Service District Tax. If you want to take that very same value, multiply it times Savannah's millage rate, 12.739, they're at $509. So you went immediately from $192 to $509, $317 more dollars for Savannah, which is more than the lowest fee increase proposal that we have here, which would cover the smaller homes, smaller properties. All right, so you're at $275 versus $317. If you do the same math for a $200,000 value home or property, you're at $384 in the Special Service District is what you're paying. City of Savannah, if you multiply it times 12.739, you're at $1,019. You're paying $635 more if you're in a $200,000 home. Now, we struggled on how to calculate the fairest, best way to charge here. And we came to the conclusion that it was not fair to charge based on value, but rather base it on size and the actual cost to fight a fire. Makes sense. We, by law, have to run a fund that will, or the governments that have water, they actually have to not charge, they can charge enough to pay for the water. So this is where we're trying to charge enough to keep your house and your property from burning down. That's all we're trying to do here. And it is just as hard for someone, a fire truck, to put out a 1,000 square foot mobile home, maybe harder because they go up quicker, than a dock out in Commissioner Stone's area that has a small 1,000 square foot structure on top. Difference is, that's going to be valued at, God, millions of dollars, and we've asked them to pay for a lot more than someone else who's getting the same exact service. So we tried to base it off of size to be fair for everyone. So when you take that into account, off of a $200,000 evaluation, the $635 more you would pay to, if we were in Savannah, rather than paying your tax rate of 4.801 mils, that's a difference of $275 versus $635. Now, in this area, 200,000, you should still stay. On most parts, there's going to be different circumstances, I'm sure. But for the most part, for the $200,000, you're going to stay in our smaller square footage category. So you're going to be paying, I believe, in the smaller category, I believe, what's it, 275 max, I believe. So even at that $200,000 range, you should be about $275 paying that versus $635 if it were actually taxes and we taxed you like Savannah taxes. $300,000 property, $576 is what you would pay right now in the SSD budget, multiplying it times 4.801 mils. If we were in Savannah, you would pay $1,500. Okay, based on the $300,000 value, that's $952 more you would be paying to live in Savannah. Okay, we're saying $300,000. Now you may or may not get out of tier 1. You may jump into the next tier, and at max in that next tier, in the 300 range, I believe it was, and without looking at the numbers in front of me, I believe that would be $500 in the tier from 4,000 square feet and above, and that should include the land. Is that correct? 600? Okay. So we're at $600 versus $952. So we're still $352 cheaper than living in the city of Savannah that you get to pay them with your property taxes. All right, you can take that and run it right on up. 400,000 and above, you're at $864 in the SSD budget. You're at $2,293 if you're in the city of Savannah. That's $1,428 more. Now, there's a good chance you're still only going to be in that 600 range because that's 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. So plenty of homes and properties in the 400 range would probably most likely fall within that 4,000 to 5,000 range. So you're talking the $600 versus $1,428. When you get above that, the fees do increase a little more, but you're still going to see that for the folks in Commissioner Stone's district that's upset, what we did, God, that's a blunt thought, was saved your butts. We made it absolutely fair. We made it fair, folks. Much more fair than taxing you based on your property value. I promise you that. It was the thought that people that their smaller properties can burn up, they need to pay their fair share. So it went up by a tiny amount on that part to help where everyone is treated absolutely fair with this proposal. I've been in government 26 years as an elected official, and I can honestly say I've never once voted ever to increase, that I'm aware of, any kind of new fee or a new tax. I've never voted for a tax increase. But there's no other option than what we're doing here today because, again, government's job is to protect the people. And God knows, sadly, there's the majority of the people in the world are great people, but we don't have enough to pay their bills and do it on their own. Again, 75, 85, whatever percent are wonderful, and they were paying. But that won't float the boat. That's not going to put out your fire. So we have no choice other than to put this fee on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope that explains something to the public, that this wasn't a fun thing. I want to thank the staff, excuse me, for doing one heck of a good job, because this was an impossible task. People's going to be mad. They're going to be angry. Commissioner Stone, I think if you explain to your doc friends, we saved them a lot of money by going the route we just went, rather than giving them the good old, let's put it in our taxes. So they should be very pleased and not upset, as well as no one likes a bill, no one likes a fee, no one likes taxes. I don't want it, you don't want it, but, you know, God, it's something we have to do. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Wiley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I do want to echo Commissioner Kicklighter's sentiments and thanking the staff. I know this has been interesting, to say the least. And I know it's not over. We're just getting started and look forward to more emails. And so I do want to make mention of something, though. No entity put us in this situation but us. And what I mean by that, we cannot blame Chatham Fire, EMS, or any other organization except us, because we are here due to a lack of foresight. We are here because we did not create any type of fire infrastructure to do something, to be able to RFP or create other options. And so I'm not saying that directly at anybody but us as colleagues, to say, you know, let us be more proactive rather than reactive, and let this serve as a lesson that when we make these decisions, when we second these motions and vote on that board, that we are thinking not only about today, but about tomorrow, about our children and our children's children, because decisions that were made or were not made decades ago are why we're here today. You know, I do want to assure the public that there is oversight also in this. So we're not just turning this over to Chatham EMS and say, have at it. They have opened their board. We have 3 more slots on their board. I'm honored that the commission allowed me to be on that board, to be a part of it. And with that being the case, government is ours. And when I say that, I say not just us sitting up here, but those who are watching, those who are listening, those who are going to, you know, say slick stuff on social media and in our email. Government's yours too. And so with that, I hope that we can all hold each other accountable in this, and make sure that we are working together in oversight. For those in our emails who have different views and so on and so forth, I appreciate it. I really do, and I'm sure my colleagues do, even though sometimes it's painful to read, and you know, I might not want to invite you to my birthday party. I still appreciate your input, because at the end of the day, it's different perspectives that allow us to grow. And so, as our chairman said earlier this morning, this is our first step into this. We understand that there are going to be adjustments, but with the energy and rigor that we're seeing these emails go out, I urge the public to have that same energy in helping us to work through this process, but not only this process, but on affordable housing, or on fighting poverty, or on fighting crime in our community. Let's have that same rigor, let's have that same energy and accountability on those issues, because they affect you too. And you'll pay for it, or we'll pay for it later. If we don't pay for it, in dollars up front, we'll pay for it in costs at jails, we'll pay for it in costs in courts, and so on and so forth. But please, I urge everybody to continue to be engaged. This is just step one. A wise man told me that everybody wants to eat, but not everybody's willing to cook. Well, we need everybody in the kitchen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's go to Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say, first of all, well said, Commissioner Kicklighter, Commissioner Whiteley. Well said, and I certainly stand behind those statements they make. Made, rather.
All right, Commissioner Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to thank the staff for working hard as they have to put this together. And Commissioner Kicklighter, thank you for that explanation. You did it in 3 minutes, and it was figures that you had, but I think that somehow we just need to reassure the residents of Chatham County that we are doing what we have to do. And it's not for us, it's for them, it's for all of us. So I just want them to know and be considerate when they send the emails that we hope your house don't catch on fire. Thank you very much.
All right, any Commissioner Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the comments of my colleagues and for Mr. Kicklighter doing the math there. But I do want to point out one thing, and that is that when you talk about the millage in the city of Savannah, please bear in mind that we also, in the unincorporated area that is not rolled into our taxes, that does come out of our wallet separately, is the dry trash fee. And if you also have to pay for your garbage collection. So, I understand that we have to do this. I still have some reservations about how we got here. I deeply appreciate the work that's been put into this by both the staff and by this board, but I still have some concerns when you really get down and look at the numbers and how all this is calculated, and unfortunately how we got to this point. So I just want to bring out what my thoughts are, but I do appreciate everything that's been done up to this point.
All right, any other commissioner now? All right, all commissioners haven't been heard. We have one person who signed up.
Yes.
All right, call them forward. Whomever it was that signed up. That's the only one we taking now.
Yeah.
No other. The one who signed up.
Judd Catino, and if I said that wrong, I apologize.
Okay.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
I'd like to thank the commission for taking on this very tough problem. I think that the shifting, as Commissioner Kicklighter pointed out, from a tax-based system or value of a property is definitely to one based on the characteristics of the property is very laudable. For the staff, it caused a great number of problems. The problems I have are the next step. And the next step that we have are created by the inconsistencies. To begin with, the preamble in section 2112.0G basically says that a fair and equitable apportionment of cost should correlate to the characteristics of the property, including the size of the property and the structures thereon. Following up on that, in 21.1205B, it says the county manager shall recommend fire protection service fee rates to the Board of Commissioners for properties within the fire service area. The recommendation will apportion the cost of delivering the fire protection services in a fair and equitable manner based on the characteristics of the property, including but not limited to the square footage of structures, the number of dwellings, as well as the size of the lot or undeveloped land. And I believe that was the original goal that y'all had. Almost immediately, that all changed. $100 flat fee on land, regardless of use. So I'm concerned about that, not necessarily for size, but for use. We have some sawmills around on several thousand acres or hundreds of acres, as opposed to just undeveloped land with a tree or a garden, and you're gonna charge those the same. I'm concerned about that. The other thing this brings up, regardless of use, would be commercial versus residential. A lot of the people a few people I've talked to have used the calculation based on the table, that what they were paying, what they're going to pay is going to be higher. I know of two commercial properties in the unincorporated area whose bill will be at least a third less by using this method. I believe that, Chief Kearns could tell you, but I believe there was a commercial rate table for the fire fee prior. So inequities occur like that. The other thing is we're trying to figure out square footage so we can look at your table. And what is included is highly variable. And when we asked questions at the conference, we said we have to get back with you which ones are considered flammable or not. So it's going to create a lot of confusion of all these different things because let's just say you have we don't even know if a playhouse is included, but let's just say a 100-foot playhouse takes you from 3,900 to 5,000. Your rate will go from 10 cents a square foot to 12.5 cents a square foot. If you have a bunch of docks, and they're now subtly included, let's say it might take you from 4,900 to 5,000, you'll go from 10 cents a square foot to 20 cents a square foot. So I would think, and I would hope, that there's going to be required a lot of effort to go over which of these structures are included. And I think that I think there was an argument made by Ms. Kramer that people would end up arguing over 10 or 12 square feet if we went to actual square footage. The thing is, if you went to actual square footage, 10 square feet might be $4, whereas 10 square feet in this graduated you can double. You can go from 500 to 1,000 on your rate, or you can go from 500 to 750, or look at all the rates on the tiers. Yeah, you can go from 600 to 1,100 by 1 square foot. And so that could have been a series of docks. But we don't know I guess we know docks are included, but we don't know if playhouses or sheds or warehouses. And I think that the other problem that gets into is what is in that shed. If we have your pool floats in your shed, or do we have commercial gasoline and chemicals, or like the fire we had on the river with the lithium batteries that could not even be extinguished. So I think that the initial preamble and things we were set out in this fire protection service establishment are very laudable, and I would urge the commission to do everything they can to adhere to the standards and wishes that you had laid out in your initial sections of this.
Thank you, sir. And let me ask you to do this now. If you don't want to leave me your notes, email me, as chairman@chathamcounty.org. Email me your notes and your concerns.
I think you've received them.
Okay.
Yeah, from a number of people.
And what we will do, what I will do is, all of you, and let me say this to everyone who's in Chatham County who is affected by this in unincorporated areas, please send me your concerns that we can address them, all right? There is no dumb question, except the one you do not ask. If you ask it, we'll get an answer for you. You may not like it, but we'll get an answer for you, and then you can give it to, we can give you our answer so that we can go. And what I really want to do now is, I don't want us to get into a debate as to who said frog and who said turtle, all right? I want us to just accept what's going on. We understand that this is a work in progress, all right? So there are going to be times when they will come back to the board and ask that we make some adjustments based upon finding and based upon facts. And you all know, I do not like to do things except with facts, all right? So let us understand that this is our first step in the water, all right? But before we let anybody drown, we're gonna make sure everybody know how to swim. All right, with that being said, let me go to Commissioner Kicklighter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
Turn
just
the mic
want
on.
to thank the gentleman that spoke too, and I'm sure we're going to find all kinds of flaws in this process because we are trying to do something unique to make it as fair as possible. But I'm sure we're going to find out really quick as soon as the bills go out. And at that point, I
make
really
adjustment.
expect that we'll all have to address several things right in the beginning, but ultimately, I believe that this will be the fairest way. But it's just the only step that we have to take to keep everybody from burning down right now. And, but I'm confident that I'm willing to address any major problems that pops up, and I believe everyone up here and the staff will too, because, again, I'm confident of it. There'll be many, and I appreciate your input too, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Farrell.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone, including the speaker here, that has reached out to me personally with their concerns about this matter. It's very important that we get the feedback. The goal of this commission, if I can speak for them, is to create the most fair and balanced approach to providing the funding for a good fire department that's effective, that's going to keep our homeowners and property owners' insurance rates as low as possible by having a good ISO rating, quick response for the public safety of all the folks in the unincorporated area. So this is the first step in a long journey. This is the direction we're heading in, and I fully expect that there will be additions and deletions and changes over time as they develop, but just work with us, talking to the general public and all the folks that will be paying this fee. And we will do our very utmost best as a commission to get it right and to make it as fair as possible. So bear with us, and that's all I have to say for now.
All right. May I have a motion?
You got
You got the motion?
Moving second.
All right, I'm behind. All right. All right, the discussion has been taken. Let us please cast your votes. All right. Let us move on now to the petitioner, Robert Brennan Jr., agent for Sheffield and Shore LLC. Owner is requesting rezoning from an R-1/EO, single-family residential and environment overlay to a BN, neighborhood business zoning district at 7411 Skidaway Road, MPC file number Z-222-000-233, pin 103770919, comma 10377 09020 10377 09026 and 10377 09023. The Planning Commission recommends approval for the petitioner's request to rezone the subject property from R-1EO, single-family residential, to BN, neighborhood business environmental overlay with the following conditions. District 1, a 30-foot vegetation buffer shall be required along the eastern and southern property line with a degree of occupancy which will obstruct the site from the right of way and adjacent residential property as determined by the county All right, the county abater shall approve the removal of any existing trees on site. And we turn it over to Mr. Marcus.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Chairman.
can explain all that I just read.
Yes, sir, you did an excellent job there. I'll sum it up a little bit. Marcus Lotson for the Metropolitan Planning Commission. The item that the MPC is bringing you today was heard during the March 22nd regular MPC meeting, and the petitioner is requesting approval to rezone properties from the R1 residential zoning classification to neighborhood business. I'm going to show you a couple of exhibits that'll identify this property. The property is located on the south side of Skidaway Road between Ferguson Avenue and Ridgewood Road. There are 4 undeveloped parcels here. Currently, these parcels serve essentially as overflow parking. The subject property that you see highlighted here is adjacent to an existing shopping center, which is also owned by the petitioner. The hatched properties are the ones that are the subject of the rezoning request. The petitioner also owns this property immediately west, and then also owns this property immediately north, which is also a restaurant. The current property that you're considering today is, as I mentioned, undeveloped. Here's an aerial view. There are some canopy trees on the property, but primarily is a gravel lot that has been used for parking to accommodate the uses to the west and to the north as they are underparked. This is a zoning map that shows the subject properties are currently zoned R1 residential. There is an existing residence immediately south of the subject property and also an existing residence immediately east of the subject property. The development pattern in the area generally is retail in this portion of the neighborhood, particularly at this intersection of Ferguson Avenue and Skidaway Road. The petitioner's intent is to rezone this property to the neighborhood business classification, which allows various types of retail, commercial uses, neighborhood scale services. Also want to show you street view of some of the features of the site. So this is a photograph you can see was taken during the lunch hour on a weekday where some members of the public have parked in this area, and so did I, frankly. This is a view to the west at the adjacent shopping center.
The lady was not trying to climb the tree. Explain what.
No, that was for scale. That was just to get. That was for scale. Yes, yes. She is a tree lover though. So, this is a view of Skidaway Road. As you can see in this portion, it's a 2-lane road. Ridgewood Road is just across the parking lot beyond the stand of trees. Ridgewood Road was recently improved by the county, I should also add. This is essentially where people entered the property for the purpose of the overflow parking. And as you can see, it is an unimproved lot. And this is a view looking to the south. Behind this stand of trees is the residence that I pointed out. And for the record, the one letter of opposition that we did receive from a property owner is the property owner that is on the other side of that stand of trees. She works out of the country, but she did provide that letter to the commission to express her concerns about the proposal. And this is a view looking across Skidaway Road toward Ridgewood Road, which would be to the left there. And finally, the intersection of Skidaway and Ridgewood. The applicant did provide a concept plan to identify their intentions for the property. I will say that we did not, as staff of MPC, did not give great consideration to this plan, but we did review this request as it relates to the neighborhood business zoning classification. But this concept plan does show a potential for a 2,400 square foot retail building and parking. The proposed zoning would allow neighborhood-scale retail services, which are similar in nature to other services and convenience facilities that exist currently in the neighborhood. We did find, or one of our findings was that this property is unlikely, I should say, to be developed as residential based on its location. The traffic on Skidaway is a concern for a number of reasons, and we've been having some discussions with county staff about that issue. We believe, however, that issue is likely to persist whether this property gets rezoned or not. The MPC's position is that the county commission should make a determination as to the appropriateness of the zoning for this property, whether or not it can support a commercial use, not necessarily this specific one you're looking at here. We do think that there's some benefit in improving the site. Safety is a concern as people use this site now to park here and sometimes walk across the street. And at that location on Skidaway, there is a curve that precedes this property, which does exacerbate the pedestrian issue. However, we do believe that from a zoning and land use standpoint, it's appropriate zoning classification for the property, and the MPC is recommending approval to rezone the property, and they are recommending that with the conditions that the chairman outlined. One of those conditions is that a 30-foot vegetative buffer be required along the eastern and southern property line. We believe that will protect both the adjacent residents and that will eliminate access immediately onto Ridgewood, which is a residential street. And we also recommend as a condition that the county arborist approve the removal of any existing trees on site. There are at least 3 significant trees on that site. The staff has been in touch with the county arborist, and they've agreed to, should this property be developed, meet the applicant on site to discuss the health of those trees and ensure that they're protected during the development process if this proceeds. But with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, I know Commissioner Stone will have some. Anyone else? All right, Commissioner Stone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lotson, the property's currently zoned R1, and there's an environmental overlay. Was there a reason for the environmental overlay?
Well, this area of Sandfly generally is covered by the environmental overlay, as are a number of neighborhoods in the county. So should this property be rezoned, that will not eliminate the environmental overlay from this property. There's not a lot on this particular property that applies as it relates to the environmental overlay because it's not on the marsh side, but we would maintain that overlay at this property as we do for most of the properties in Sandfly.
Okay, and my concern on this is that this zoning would allow for the use of another business there.
Yes.
And in the future, possibly more businesses on that site.
Yes.
Okay, we have a situation out there that's very tight. We've got a restaurant across the street that is currently using that parking lot. You have restaurants on the other side of the street that's currently using that. So when you switch this to a business district, there is nothing to eliminate the fact that they want to put one business there now, they could put 2 more in the future.
Well, they certainly, if the property is rezoned, could develop the property with commercial uses, potentially more than one, depending on, what will fit into the standards of the county ordinances. And that does increase potentially the number of people that will be using that site if it's a retail operation that takes place on that property. And will that increase the issue that we're seeing, the pedestrian issue, that's crossing the street? That is certainly possible. I think that the improvements that will be necessary on the lot, if it's developed, could possibly help the situation as well by controlling the flow of traffic in and out of the property, because there's really no controls now because there are no curb cuts along either Skidaway Road or Ridgewood Road. It simply is one big curb cut on both sides.
I understand that, but my question and my concern is the density of businesses in that district and the parking. I mean, clearly, the restaurant across the street cannot, at times, accommodate their amount of parking, so they're going across the street.
Right.
You add more businesses across the street, then where are all these people going to park? Because that the county, a while back, and we just got an update at today's meeting, of a pedestrian upgrade for that whole intersection. And that has not been done. And within the last year, there was a death in front of the shopping center across the street. So my concern is you start putting in more commercial entities and lack of parking, people are gonna have to park somewhere. And they're gonna park in the other locations. They're going to be crossing these streets to get to this restaurant or that restaurant, where there are no crosswalks, even in front of the traffic lights. So we've got now, currently, and this is not the fault of anyone here, because this is the way it currently is you have people that are at the restaurant across the street. They may or may not have had a glass of wine too many, and they're running across Skidaway. I mean, I've seen them. Now, you know, that worries me. They don't go to the light. There's no incentive to go to the light because there's no crosswalk there. So I'm just very concerned about what we're doing here by creating the ability for another business and possibly one or two more on that lot or those lots. And we're not taking into consideration the fact that there already is not enough parking in the area for the commercial entities that exist. And the ability for pedestrians to cross all of these areas safely. So that is my concern.
All right, anyone else? All right, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the zoning change as stated.
Second.
Properly motion and second that that the petitioner's request be granted. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, please cast your votes. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sirs. Okay, we go now to informational item. Mr. Manager?
No, just a reminder, individual budget meetings come up next week. Budget sessions, I know schedules are tight, but we've got a lot of stuff going on in Chatham County. So this year probably is important as many will be spending right much time. So I guess we will get some bunk beds or whatever and just spend a lot of time here in the courthouse. I do want to say, when the report on the omnibus came out, the night, Mr. Chairman, of Hurricane Matthew, I laid my head down in the EOC in the cubicle. Staff said, Mr. Smith, are you worried about the storm? I went, no, we'll weather the storm. They said, what's the problem? I said, FEMA's coming. And we just, today, have completed all the financials 6 years later with FEMA.
And we just got all the money back.
Yep, that's how long it takes. So when people say hurry up, that was a hurry up.
Yeah.
I've seen it take 10 years. So thank you to the staff. Great job.
All right. Let me ask all of the commissioners now, before you've been transmitted the budget, please study it. And before you have any conversations with anyone else, please have conversations with the staff, all right, about your budgetary concerns. And then we will meet with the other constitutional officers and other departments and so forth after you have met. Now, please look at your schedules to see if that fits your schedule and to make sure that you have time to get your concerns to the staff concerning the budget, all right? And we will move from there. Now, there is a need for us to have an executive session for litigation, acquisition. Land acquisition, and I don't think we have an appointment to do it, all right? So, may I have a motion?
Second.
Second. Properly motion and second that we adjourn to executive sessions. Are you ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right, let me thank all of you for being here today, and we will go into executive session. And to Ms. Castle, we thank you for being with us. Now, don't leave yet, all right? There's still some more you and I are gonna do later on, but let me go through this executive session first, and then I'll catch up with you after then. Where's Danielle? Well, Janice will, yeah, Janice will see to you. No, Janice gotta go to executive session. Get Danielle or one of those to come out, Julia, one of those to come out and get her. Take her over to my office, all right? And, I'll catch up with her as soon as we get this stuff done. Oh, there go Danielle.